If you're a parent, you've probably noticed the world is moving pretty fast, and its ideas are moving right along with it. And if you're like me, you might not be too happy about some of those ideas, especially when you realize they're being forced on our kids at an extremely young age. So, what can we do about that? That's an important question given that we as parents are ultimately responsible for raising our children. Talking to our little ones is a great place to start, and reading to them is a great way to promote discussion. That brings me to a vital resource I want you to be aware of. It's a picture book for readers aged 4 through 9, which introduces the topic of compelled speech to children. Ollie Adamson's Strawberries Are Red, a story about compelled speech, gently introduces this topic and is sure to encourage great discussion between you and your little one. Freedom of speech is essential, and our children should be made aware of this. This book is available on Amazon, and I encourage you to order your copy today. We owe it to our kids. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Clean Libertarian Podcast. Hope that you guys are having a great weekend or week whenever you're listening to this. I know I am on the tail end of having my daughter's 13th birthday party. Guys, she's a teenager now. What the hell, man? She's getting old. Like, we've talked about this. I was like, hey, you're not allowed to get older, but she just didn't listen. It keeps happening. But it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing to be present and accounted for. It's a blessing to be able to have the type of home to where, you know, she can bring some friends over and they can have a fun time. And it was cool. They had a Friends, you know, like the sitcom Friends themed birthday party. They had a blast, man. It was cool to see. And so I'm blessed, right? I'm living the good life over here. And man, I got a really solid conversation lined up for y'all today. This is my friend Ghillie the Kid from Twitter. This is somebody I've gotten to know over, you know, past couple of years or so. And this is someone who I identify with. We get to talk a lot about dual diagnosis and struggling with mental health while also having, you know, substance abuse issues and fighting through that because, you know, that is a very difficult type of thing to navigate. And so there's a lot of points that we were able to discuss that I'm glad that we did because I don't necessarily think I've been able to do that yet. So if that's something that piques your interest, you're in for a treat. You know, this is one of the more gut level, honest episodes that I've ever done. And I'm so grateful for it, man. And I know you guys are going to enjoy it too. So without any further ado, here is Ghillie. So yeah. Welcome. Glad you're here.
It's great to be here, man.
Yeah.
Great to be here. Nice night.
I've been looking forward to this, man, because, you know, you and I'm so grateful the circle that I've, you know, been able to build in my own life. And I'm grateful that you're a part of that. And man, I identify because you and I have been talking for a while, you know, and I've got to see you kind of like rise and fall and rise again. And I identify so much with a lot of parts of your story, and that's why I wanted to have you on, man. It's because there's some tough topics that are out there, you know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Some tough topics.
And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, like I remember like the first time we talked on the phone, like just immediately, just like vibing with you, and like felt like long lost brothers or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like, and it's been good, and especially like the fellowship online and stuff. It's probably saved my life, you know, because I've been able to you know, say stuff to you and to other people that we're friends with that especially when I had relapsed, that, you know, I wasn't taking to my sponsor right then, you know?
Yeah. There's something to be said about kind of having the shield of anonymity in a sobriety, an anonymous based sobriety group chat like we're in, and being able to really get gut level honest because of that.
Yeah.
Definitely. You know what I'm saying? Fuck, man, like leading up to my to my relapse that I had. I've been around the room so long. Shit, I'd spoke at so many different meetings, and like I developed this ego in my mind, and I could see clearly, like especially that year leading up to it, where I stopped being honest about where I was at in meetings because I didn't want people to think that I wasn't working a program.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I was sitting there, and when the person with 30 days would share, and there I am with like 7 years, I would look at them and be like, they got it and I don't. They figured it out and I'm never going to get it.
Yeah, I've definitely, unfortunately, I've learned not to do it anymore, but been in that spot with, significant amount of time, and, just not been in the right place. And instead of talking about it, you know, I put like a shield up, around me, and, just wanted to keep that. Hey, I'm sober. Hey, I'm, doing this. I'm doing service work. I'm sharing meetings, instead of really talking about what was going on.
Yeah. How have you let's get a little background on you, man. Like
Yeah.
how did you initially find yourself looking for recovery?
I think I was, well, I think I think I had like my first drink of, it was like rum at a friend's house when I was like 11. Um, and I like that. I like the way it felt. It felt like a warm hug a bit.
Yeah.
And then when I turned like 14 or whatever, seventh grade, I had a brother that was 3 years older. So I started riding to school with him. And he was a real big pothead. And at the time, I was young, and I wasn't feeling any of that. And uh, anyway, the first day of like seventh grade, him and this chick talked me into smoking, and I was, I was gone. Like he was like walking me to like every class, and he was like, just like
Yeah.
call your, say you're here for attendance, and just like go to sleep, and I'll come and get you. Like, like you'll be good.
Awesome.
You'll be good by lunch, bro. And but yeah, and then I guess it's started like that, and then I eventually found like one of my true loves was like opiates, because
Mm.
it's feeling like that warm alcohol in my stomach. It felt a bit like a hug, but that opiate, that warmth and everything and comfort, like I just fell in love immediately, and just started like I started drinking like lean or cough syrup, and I had older friends that were hitting up pain doctors and stuff. And my problem was because my brother was older, I had access to all these older people, and so I I think I was like 50. No, I was 16, and my best friend I grew up with. I got a call one night, and it was my other buddy, and he said, "Hey, um, Steven's dead, man." And
Mm.
I couldn't, it didn't process, and I had just talked to him the day before because he had just gotten out of one of those nature treatment places where they take you out in the woods and tell you
Yeah.
to do what you're supposed to do, or you're going to starve or freeze to death or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was on testing, and I was like, "Oh man, you're good. Just drink, man. Just don't do any drugs, and you'll get off the test, and you'll be fine." And I think I even helped him get booze that day. But anyway, he was out with some friends, and he was driving, and the truck rolled over. He didn't have on a seatbelt, and he was pretty much cut in half in between the truck and the guardrail. And it was,
Fuck.
yeah, it was right down the road from where I had several friends that lived, and close to the school I attended at the time. And when that happened, I think that was kind of like God, like knocking me in the head, like,
Yeah.
because after the funeral, I was like, maybe I've gotten out of control, because I was 16, and like, if I wasn't smoking like every day before school, I was popping tabs or drinking syrup or whatever, and I was hanging around with older guys, and like, and I honestly, I got scared, and I went at the time. I went to a preacher, and I basically talked to him, and that's like, I think I might have a problem, and I ended up in like a lockdown rehab unit, and for I think it was 60 days, and looking back on it now, like little did I know, like that how much worse I could make it. How,
Yeah.
how much worse it would get.
Yeah, those false bottoms, man. You
Yeah,
gotta look out for
yeah,
them.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I after I got out of the meetings, after I got out of the treatment, I actually did stay sober. And at the time, I was going to NA meetings, and I, I picked up I picked up a year chip at NA, and then I turned 21, and like everything, like I quit going to meetings and stuff because I was like, well, like I didn't use drugs for a year, so I guess I'm good,
Yeah.
and I went on about in the world, and I guess the only thing that really saved my life is I'm from the South, like deep South, and grew up right outside of Birmingham, all white neighborhood, all white church, middle class family. My dad was a business owner. Um, he was actually, worth quite a bit of money, but he refused to let us like live above like middle class because he just didn't think it would be good for us, for anybody. And anyway, at age 21, I had been just mainly fucking around, getting high, drinking, mainly just smoking weed and drinking. And I was doing plumbing work with my brother. He was a master plumber. And I decided that I wanted to like see the country. And
Mm-hmm.
I got a job, and I shipped off to Charlotte, North Carolina. And that was the first time that I had been like, past the Mason-Dixon line, like,
Yeah.
and it took, like, it was a shock to my senses, like, cause I wasn't used to being around like, all different kinds of people, whether that's gay, straight, or black, or whatever. And I was there for 8 weeks, and then I came home, and then I went back out on the road, and it was like culture shock, but it was good because like I got to experience different, religions, different races, see how people lived. Like, and I thought I had seen poor people before,
Yeah.
but when I really started traveling and stuff, like I realized like, I hadn't really seen shit. Like staying and down south, like where I was, like my eyes were like closed to how the country really is, you know. And but that was the only thing that really kept me sober, because we were constantly drug tested, constantly breathalyzed, and it was good for me, and the money was good, and so I got no complaints, and I got to see a lot of beautiful places and met a lot of beautiful people. So yeah,
Hell yeah, man. I I'll tell you one thing. For all the damage that drugs did for me, it also is the only reason I'm a social person today.
yeah,
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's wild how that works, man. It's wild how that, I don't know. Like, I never felt like I fit in, man, but the drugs, kind of help with that. They give me that social lubricant.
yeah. I just remember, like, I just remember everything being normal when I was growing up, like just normal middle class family. You know, my dad, he was gone usually around 12, 14 hours a day running a company. So my mom was the enforcer, and everything like that. But I remember, I think around like sixth grade, even though had friends and stuff, and I was like I guess popular, a bit of a class clown, a cut up or whatever. But I remember just feeling different inside, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then at the uh, my mom had me and my brother in church Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. And when I was around 11, my parents were celebrating the anniversary. And there was another church family that they were friends with that had kids my age. And one was 1 year older, and the other one was like 1 year younger than me. And they left me at their house for the weekend. And my brother was like, I think almost 16, so he got to stay at his friend's house and party and do cool stuff. And meanwhile, I'm stuck at like some bluegrass fair, like in like bumfucked Alabama, like somewhere. And it was horrible. I mean, it was really bad. And I thought, man, you know, this weekend will be over soon, and I'll be back home, and it'll be better. And because the guy, the father, he was a sheriff, and he was real, you know, real strict with the kids, and like I noticed like I had to watch my P's and Q's because I wasn't used to somebody being that strict and like that just weird about everything.
Yeah.
And then like we came in from like a that bluegrass thing. It was like an all day event, and we came in, and that night, like everybody like was going to bed, and he you know, he was a cop, and he was like, hey, why don't you come down here? And he's like, and he was educating me about drugs and drug use, and showing me pictures of, you know, what marijuana looked like and all this other stuff. And the next thing I know, I'm being sodomized by him. And
Mm.
I found out like a year later, he was doing it to both of his stepkids as well. Because I always like wondered when they got away from him, I would bring up his name, and they would be like, oh, he's just a piece of shit. I hate him. And I was like, golly, like, man, they're like, he's kind of a dick, but man, these guys really hate him. And
Right.
like now I know why. Like, and bless him, man, because I mean, whew, I that changed me a lot because I was right near the age of puberty. I had an older brother, 3 years older. He was macho, like played football, like loved to tell me about the women he was dating, hooking up with, and that messed me up because it confused me about, well, does that make me gay?
Right.
Or
Right.
and like um, and stuff like that. And so I think at that point, like I really like dove into. I was pretty much open for anything as far as like alcohol and drugs go. It just it just totally changed me.
Yeah. And I had a similar experience. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up. And we were kind of chatting about this before we started recording, but thank God we live in a time now to where we can have these types of conversations a little bit more openly and not have to fear any kind of judgment on it, because
Yeah, yeah,
I think in the process of that, we're starting to find out that, shit like this has happened pretty wide scale. I think, we all know, if not didn't happen personally to us, we all know somebody that it has happened to. With me,
yeah.
like, I had a cousin, man, who, crossed the line. I mean, he was a kid too. He was a minor, but it was a not okay thing. And I remember telling my mom and my aunt, my grandma about it, and they're just like, "Oh, boys will be boys," like it was not taken seriously, but like that fucked with my head. That
Mm-hmm.
fucked with my head bad, and even into my adult life, like I struggled with, well, am I gay? Am I bi? Like what? It didn't. There was a lot there to unpack, and thank God that we get to the place to where we can unpack that. And thank God we stumbled upon a program that can kind of unfuck some of that cluster that's in our mind on some of this stuff. But man,
Yeah, for sure.
you want to talk about isolation, you know, like that kept, I don't know about you, but it certainly kept me, in a spot where I felt like I couldn't really talk about it for a
Yeah,
long time.
not only you couldn't really talk about it to anybody, but in that day and age, like you didn't want anybody to find out about it, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and like just the whole stigma. Because I know, like where I was living and where I went to school, like it wasn't cool to be gay or trans or bi or anything like that. Like
No.
it
Yeah.
was like all that was like frowned upon. So,
Heavily.
um, but I mean, luckily, as I got older and more mature, and I had control of the situation, I was able to like explore some of that, and I realized like what I am, and
Yeah.
and I was able to sort it, but I had to be sure,
Yeah.
so it just is what it is.
Absolutely, man. So whenever you were, when did you really start having, because one of the things that you and I share some commonality on is kind of being dual diagnosis. um like when did you start seeing mental health becoming an issue for yourself?
I think it started kicking up around age 14, and by like age 15, like it got to the point where um, you know because I was always clowning in class. And I didn't know it, but at the time I was going into manic stages, and so I was like the class clown, and also with the mania, like I was really quick and prone to violence and stuff. So like it didn't take much, no matter if we were sitting in class and the teacher was there, like I would straight up punch somebody, and and try to kick the shit out of them. And I think what the incident that happened was, I was around 15, and my mom had decided that public school was bad because my brother was involved in a lot of drugs and other stuff, and they put me in a private Christian school. And when I first started going there, like, I went from public school to, like, all the girls had dresses on below their knees, like, during, like, physical education. They wore culottes, which is like basically like guy cargo shorts, like, so, like, it was just like, it was weird to me. So I stayed kind of quiet and kept to myself. But there was this one kid, and he picked at me a couple of times. And one day, I know my mom had came up there to drop off some meds, an antibiotic or something I was supposed to take after lunch. And he saw her, and somebody came to me and said, "Hey, this kid said your mom is looks like a fat dyke bitch." And
Oh, it's on.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so later that day, I was in the bathroom, and him and his two buddies came in there, and he started popping off of the mouth. And I was like, "Man, I'm about to, like, like, you really don't want this smoke, man. I'm about to hurt you." And I finished pissing and just turned around and lunged towards him, and he ran out of the bathroom because his buddy was standing there and kind of cock blocked me the way there. And I followed him out of the bathroom, and he ran up the stairwell towards the classes, and there was a teacher coming down the steps, and I just walked calmly up the steps. He was standing right beside her, and just, like, picked him up and threw him down the steps. And and at the time, I was wearing Doc Martens, so I was just boot stomping him and, like, kicking him in the ribs. And I think I bent down a couple of times, and I punched him 2 or 3 times in the face. And, like, there's just, like, all these like, all these Christian kids that have never seen a fight, like, all these, like, Christian school teachers that, like, probably never even seen, like, anything violent like that.
Yeah.
And, like, I remember the teacher got up from where she was eating and just came over there and just, like, beside us, and just started just screaming out loud, like she was like somebody was being murdered. And so, like, that happened. And anyway, it just after that, I got sent home. The kid had to go to the hospital. He had bruised ribs and a broken nose and stuff. And my family paid his copay and stuff, and hoped he didn't sue and everything. But the principal did tell my dad that the kid was an asshole and was always causing problems. So
yeah.
But after that, my mom took me to a psychiatrist, and at first, the psychiatrist said, "Well, I'm pretty sure he suffers from depression, but he might be bipolar." And I didn't know what that meant, but it didn't sound good. And from there, I started taking an antidepressant, and the whole thing with the cycling of the bipolar, like going from manic to depressive, it just got worse and worse, like where I would just stay awake for days at a time. And I was like self-medicating with alcohol and pills and stuff. And finally, like, she took me to another psychiatrist, and he diagnosed me as bipolar, and it went like that. And I think I was diagnosed like 4 or 5 times by different doctors as bipolar. And me being me, like, after I had read about it and stuff, even though I clearly had the symptoms and signs of it, like, I refused to accept it,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't comprehend that. No, man, I'm not like one of these like freaks, like, it's, so like,
Yeah.
so fast forward, I'm in a psychiatrist's office, and like, he's like looking me up and down, and he asked me, so what do you think the problem is? I mean, what do you think is wrong with you mentally? And by that point, I had, you know, it was like a tornado, like I had left behind me. Like, and by that point, I had caught a trafficking charge because I got manic and decided that I was going to be the Oxycontin kingpin of the South. And we started busting prescriptions all over, and anyway, I ended up getting a trafficking charge. And so the psychiatrist is asking me, what do you think's wrong? And I said, I'm starting to believe that I might be bipolar. And this doctor looked at me. He just like looked at me like in disgust and was like, you think so? Like, you think so? Because I noticed on your charts, you've been to like 4 or 5 different doctors, and they've all said the same thing. And they all said you need to be taking lithium. Have you been taking your lithium? And I was like, no, I don't like it. And he was like, well, what, are you willing to take the lithium? And by that point, I was in so much legal trouble and everything else. I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a go. I guess I'm bipolar, but I didn't tell people really, I just took my medicine and went on about life. But yeah, it was crazy that it took that much, for me to realize that I had an imbalance or an imperfection or whatever. It's like looking at character defects now in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't see it until it just like smacked me right in the face, and like humbled me a bit. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, I come from a very it's crazy how many parallels there are for us. Although, like, I never had any kind of popularity. I was always the outcast, man. I did not have any friends, but my parents were sending me to these fucking doctors, and they kept trying to label me with these different diagnoses. Bipolar got brought up a lot, definitely ADD, ADHD. And I remember getting on the pills, all the different antidepressants and stuff like that. And it was like a filter for my brain. I don't know how else to describe it than that. Like, all my natural feelings were placed through this filter, and so the feelings ended up all being synthetic. Whether it was happy, whether it was sad, whether it was angry, it was like not the feelings I was used to having, and I hated it.
Yeah, it kind of numbs you a bit,
Yeah, man.
Like, but not in a good way.
No. And so I think that's kind of like why folks like us are drawn to the narcotics, is because it's such a cathartic experience. It's very vivid. It's very real, like those highs are very high, and it's a real feeling. And it's almost the way, like, we couldn't, and I don't want to speak for you, so forgive me. I couldn't control how I felt and what I did with those emotions, but I could control, if I put this substance in my body, I will no longer feel feeling A, but instead we'll feel feeling B, right?
Exactly. And it's like when I like, and you hit it on the head. Like during the day, it was like opiates and like cannabis and maybe a little alcohol to keep me like, from being too manic. Then at night, it was like a half a bar or a bar so I could sleep. Like it
Mm-hmm.
was definitely self medication to begin with. And because like you talking about taking the medicine, like it, I just felt numb. Like I could see something bad could happen, and I would just be like, well, everything's gonna be okay, I guess. I
Yeah.
just, I felt like a really like passive zombie, and
Yes.
yeah. So like
Excellent way to put it, man.
I started like, like, and it got to the point where my mom wanted to see me take the pill, and all this stuff, like, because all the trouble and stuff I had been through. And anyway, I got to where like I would like minimize the dose, so I could have a little bit of that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I was just constantly mixing and matching and trying to come up with the perfect recipe, like, and it was like that for a real long time until, I caught a trafficking charge, and I realized that I was never going to be the Oxycontin kingpin of the South.
Damn it.
And I needed to move on from that,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So let's fast forward a bit, man. You found some recovery. What did that look like? Like what was the aha moment for you?
Hmm. You know, I don't. I, I don't really think I ever had. I've only had one, and I had to retire from early from work as a truck driver due to a severe spinal injury and foot injury, and and shortly after I retired, my father became like ill, like a shut in. So I had my own place, but I would pack a bag and go over there and take care of him and stuff. And anyway, I got him on some Rick Simpson oil and stuff, and got him feeling better. And he could halfway function, and he went on like that for a while. And I went back to my townhouse to do my own thing, which at the time I was still trafficking, but this time it was Roxy's.
Oh yeah.
It's like I I like that lifestyle. Like I liked the money and stuff. I didn't like the people I had to be around, and so I was strict. Like you got to buy this many at one time. Like to keep like scragglers and stuff away,
Mm-hmm.
and no business at home. Like I mean, this time I was smarter about it, um, but um, that feeling of having like of being the man, of having the power, the control, and the money, and you know, the candy on your arm. Like I like that. Like it was like a different kind of high, and I did that, and shortly thereafter, my dad got even like sicker, and I actually had to move in there and take care of him full time until he passed away. And my mom wasn't able to because of her health, so I did it. And that's like a year of changing your father's diaper, catheterizing them, all that, and I got really bad PTSD from it, and and after he passed away, I had what happened was after he passed away, I had gone to pick up an ounce of cannabis for myself, for my pain, and just so happened I ended up deciding to run an errand instead of just going straight back home, and I got popped with that, and anyway, they took my vehicle and everything, and by that point, like, I got out of jail the next day. They took my money, like all that, and because they could see, even though I got youthful offender on the first trafficking charge, they knew they wanted to punish me hard, so they
Mm-hmm.
did. And by that point, all I had left was like a motorcycle, and I honestly, I'd gotten rid of my townhouse because my dad was sick, so I didn't have a place to stay. So I started living like out in an undesirable area with this chick, and she worked all the time, was never at home, and all I did was like sit around and feel bad about my dad dying, and feel bad, like, I was having night terrors, like, and from all the PTSD, and seeing him die and everything, like, and but I'm stubborn and I'm me, so I wasn't I I wanted to change, but it had to be like on my own terms.
Yeah.
So I'm basically I'm living in like filth, and this house was built right after the Civil War. It came straight out of To Kill a Mockingbird. It's like that old. Um, and the chick was always gone, and she didn't care what I did. She just said, like, no drug sales from the house. So I sat there and I did a whole lot of nothing, and uh, eventually I started growing psilocybin mushrooms, and I was growing huge tubfuls, and as I was microdosing every day, it was off all my medications, like for bipolar and everything. And I became convinced that that was what I needed at the time. And at the time, it was what I needed. So I would microdose every day, and then like trip hard on the weekend. And eventually, like, after doing that for probably 6 months, like I tripped one night, and I don't know how to describe it, but it's like my third eye opened, and I could see the path that I was supposed to be on and I needed to be on. And then I could see that I was off of it, and like, it's just like I had this mantra that I'm going to put myself back on that path of where I need to be, where I can help myself and help others, like, and so at that point, like, I stopped all the psilocybin use, and I got a very good psychiatrist, and I started going to see him and went through everything with him, and he helped save my life, because shortly after my dad died, my brother, he was very successful, like master plumber, gas fitter, medical gas, like all that. Um, you know, Nice place to live, plenty of money. Just, I mean, you would think just has what everybody wants. And he just one night he took his favorite rifle, which was a Colt Bushmaster, AR-15, and he took it in the bathroom, and he shot himself.
Mm.
And I didn't know. He didn't leave a note or anything like that. But I did find out that, like, a month before that, he had made changes to his insurance plan. So his daughter would get everything, and his girlfriend that was living there got nothing. And I also found it strange. And if I hadn't been so far out of it, like on a different wavelength of reality, because I have just psilocybin flowing through my body constantly.
Right.
But he called me over, and he was like one of these people that, didn't just want to hang out to hang out, and didn't want to talk about feelings and stuff like that. And one night he called me over. I went to his place, and he was like, "Look, man, we're gonna eat whatever you want to eat tonight. We'll get it brought to us, DoorDash, whatever. Like, let's like have a drink." And he's like, "I'm sending what's her name, out." And we were sitting there just talking and having a chat, and he just like looked at me, and he almost started crying, and he was like, I just want to tell you I love you, man, and I'm so sorry for some of the things I did growing up." And I was just like, "Bro, it's okay, man. Like, I love you too, man. And it's like, I love you. It's all good. Everything's okay." And he goes, "But seriously, you're really going to have to straighten out, man." And, which was weird, because he would never criticize me, because he had done his fair share of crazy stuff too. And, but anyway, I didn't realize that. I guess that was his way of telling me goodbye, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but between my dad and my brother, like, I was in a funk, and after I had that spiritual experience with the mushrooms, I was determined that I was down, but I wasn't out, and that I was going to get back on that path. And I got a new psychiatrist, and I got deadly honest for the first time. And it's sad, that it's the first time I've ever been honest with a psychiatrist, really. And I got on some medicine that actually helped me, and he got me off the lithium and everything. And like, I just started doing so much better. And as I started doing better, and after, taking so much psilocybin, like, I couldn't even smoke cigarettes anymore. I don't know. Like, it made me to where I used to smoke like a pack and a half a day. Like, but after I did all that psilocybin for months, like, I couldn't even smell cigarettes. It made me sick. And so I went to the psychiatrist, and I started doing better. And I ended up moving in with a woman because she saw that I was, getting my shit together finally. And that's what brought me back into the rooms, living there, but also wanting to have like my own spot where away, like a meeting, the fellowship, where I could talk about what's going on with me, and that's when I started going back to AA meetings. So,
Right
and
on, man.
yeah, and it's like, it's weird because you know between working, and traveling all over, I got back in the rooms, and I saw some people that I used to see, years and years and years ago, and saw a lot of new people. And then I heard about everybody that died, whether by a bottle or by cancer or whatever. And it felt good getting back into recovery, but it's like I couldn't fully invest myself in it yet. I don't know. It's like I had a hang up about it. And finally, I got a sponsor that I felt comfortable with. And, you know, I got a home group, and it was, that's pretty much how it started again. And I did really, really well for about 8 months. And then I ended up moving out of the woman's house because of differences of opinion and stuff. And like, you know, I like the solitude of driving the truck and being alone. So like I wanted my own place. And so I ended up moving out. And, you know, it just took a couple of bad things happening, which in my case was my mom stealing my trust fund, stealing property that was in my name, stealing my cemetery plot and selling it. It was just, it was a resentment, man. It drove me right back to the bottle, man. And it was a bad relapse. And I'm grateful and lucky to be alive. And you know, I would come to the meetings sometimes drunk, and you know, I would walk up to my sponsor. I'd be like, "Hey, I'm here, yeah, but I'm drunk, you know, but I'm trying." He was like, "No shit, I know you're drunk, bro." You know,
Yeah.
you know, it's like I was trying, and eventually, it got to the point where it started clicking, and I think I picked up 90 days, and like I was a relapse king, and
Same.
a lot of that was the dual diagnosis, and a lot of that was, you know, other things, but I really had to go back and put my mind on that spiritual experience that I had that showed me that like there was a higher power, and that there was a path that I was supposed to be on, but I was nowhere near that path. Like I was in the woods somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Like I
Yeah.
wasn't on that road that I needed to be on. And so finally one night or one afternoon, I called the treatment center, and they were like, "Hey, we've got one bed available. If you want it, you need to call us back within an hour." And I was like, "No, I'm not calling back. Like, put me down for the bed right now." So they did. And I started packing. I called my sponsor, and I hadn't been to a meeting in, I don't know, a month or so. And I said, "Hey," and he was like, "Hey," he was like, "You're drunk." And I was like, "Yep." And I said, "Can you do me a favor, and please don't feel like you have to be obligated to do it?" He was like, "What's that?" And I was like, "Can you take me to detox at the treatment center?" And he said, "I would be more than happy to do that." And he said, "Let me grab a shower." And I said, "Well, good, because I haven't even packed yet." And, you know, like I threw stuff together, you know, I didn't pack worth a shit. And once I got there, I realized I had left pretty much almost everything I needed, you know, at home. But, you know, on the way there, me and him talked, and he was asking me, you know, how did this come about? And I told him, I was like, you know, this is like my last chance. Like, I've got to get it, and I've got to get to the road that I need to be on, man. Like, and talking about that spiritual experience. And we were like about 10 miles away from the center. And he was like, "It's going to take them about 5 hours to process you in." And he was like, if you need a drink, like, I'll stop, but you're just gonna have to drink in the parking lot." And I was like, yeah, I'll get one last bottle. And he stopped, and I went and got like cigarettes and nicotine pouches because I knew I needed them for treatment. And got my last pint of vodka, and just straight up killed it in the parking lot. And people were just kind of staring at me. And but at the time, I didn't care.
No,
but
no, yeah,
and he took me to the treatment center, and he basically helped me get checked in because like by that point I was blacked out, and I was like telling the intake lady like how beautiful and thick she was, and like
oh, shit.
so
Hell yeah.
but yeah, he helped get me in, and when I got in there and started detoxing, and it's like the fog came off my head, and like I've read the big book a million times, and not a million but a lot, and same way with the NA book, but I noticed like it was really making more and more sense, like I almost like fell in love with it, you know.
Yeah.
And I knew, and like I said, this is my last chance, my last go. I don't think I got another relapse left in me. Um, so I applied myself while I was there, took in as much knowledge as possible. You know, I was like co-chair in the cottages because like nobody there had knowledge of the big book or any of that other stuff. So I did it, and it was painful, you know, especially being in chronic pain, and being there and getting my meds adjusted and all that. But like once all that happened, man, like I became convinced, and I'm still convinced that like I'm back on the road now. You know, at least I'm
Fuck
back on
yeah.
the road. I'm pointing in the right direction this time, and that's all I have to do is stay on that road. And so yeah, that's basically how it clicked. And this time it's been totally different, man. And I've been surrounded by a home group and a fellowship that I truly like do love, and like you know, and like I love and care for my sponsor. You know, he's not my you know he's not my finance guy, or you know, my football friend or whatever. Me and him, we do meetings together, and we do step work, and we talk about staying sober, you know.
Yeah.
And he's old school, and that's what I need. You know, that's not for everybody, but that's what I need, because
Yeah.
like I really do feel like this is like my last go. And by the grace of God, I picked up a 30-day chip the other night.
Fuck yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be chairing meetings in the home group on Friday real soon. So I'm just I've just delved back into service work because, you know, it takes me out of myself, my own selfish shit, and I enjoy it. And I also like to help newcomers and meet newcomers and stuff. But you know, at the meetings, like I hang around the people that have time sober, you know, like and outside the meetings as well. Um, you know, newcomers, that's cool, but I just now I don't hang out with newcomers like outside meetings or anything like that. I just have to do things differently because I've learned from my past mistakes. You know, the 13th step never helped me at all,
Nope.
and
Nope.
It's gotten me drunk and messed up a lot. So yeah, I'm very careful these days.
Fun little fact, man. Back when Narcotics Anonymous was first starting, they actually did have 13 steps. And the 13th step was God help us. Fun little history lesson there, man. Kind of wild that it's taken on a different meaning now.
I had no clue. I really didn't, and I think I went to my first NA meeting when I was like 15 or 16. So, and I'm in my 40s now. So, uh, yeah, I had no idea about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's that old school, man. That's like back in the 50s, you know.
Mm.
Um, man, I am so fucking proud of you, man. I'm so blessed and fortunate to have people like you in my life that I can celebrate the victories and be there in the not so great moments too, for both of us, man. And it's a blessing, man. Iron sharpens iron, like
Yeah,
that's a term that a couple one of my brothers, my sponsee brothers, always says. It's like, man, stay in the boat, just get in the fucking boat and everything will work out. um One thing I
yeah.
did want to ask you about is, with the mental health issues, with that stuff, like what steps are you taking to take care of that part of your physical or your well-being?
Well, like that's very important, and I found now that I've gotten older, my psychiatrist that actually is a good psychiatrist. Um, he took me off the lithium. He's like, you don't need anything to like hold you down anymore. Like you're older now. You've changed. Like you're going in more depressive, like sides of it. And he was like, some people never do. You know, some people will get older and still do the mania and everything, but I don't. And so it's important that I have a good relationship with him, and I keep my appointments and take my medication as prescribed. I don't do any mixing and matching anymore as far as that goes. And I've also, found that, you know, the every morning, the waking up, the coffee, and the routine too. Like I have to stick to a routine where I wake up, I have coffee, I meditate, I pray, I read the daily reflection, uh, quick inventory check. That way I can apologize if I need to apologize to somebody or whatever. And like I found that routine. And that's another thing too about detox and treatment is like I found that, well, if I'm going to stay sober, I've got to keep this routine going. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I can't sleep 14 hours at a time anymore. Like I've got to keep a healthy routine. So, but,
That's
and I was also going to say, like, outside the fellowship of AA, just like being online and knowing people online that are sober and having like an extended network, like I said, that's one thing that made me want to, go back, detox and go to treatment. And because like, uh, you see what other people have and you want it. I do as far as sobriety goes. And like, I knew things could be so much better because I've experienced it before, but I couldn't get that, I'd pickled my brain temporarily. So I had to get that fog off of it before. So the extended network online has helped as well, so
yeah,
it's just a lot of things really. So
man. This has been a conversation that I am thoroughly glad that we had. I'm glad that you took time out of your day to hang out with me, man. Yeah, there's a lot there. I'm glad that we covered the ground that we did.
Yeah, it's been great. I was a little nervous back in the day. I would speak at meetings sometimes, or treatment centers, but you know, now the story is different. But it's I appreciate the opportunity to come on here, and you know, I sincerely hope that somebody listening to this like gets something out of it. And like, trust me, it's like with my dual diagnosis, the bipolar, you know, the PTSD of my dad's death, my brother's death, you know, my friend got murdered, you know, my other friend overdosed. Like, if I can get through all that, you know, and get sobriety, you know, like, I feel like anybody can if they put forth the effort, you know.
Yeah, for
So
sure. Um, that brings us into the part that I always love, man. And I'm give anybody the opportunity who comes on and shares their story to reach out to that one member in the audience who was looking for a way out of addiction, and in the unique spot of being dual diagnosed like myself. Like, what would you say to somebody like us who just is struggling?
I would say, you know, hang on. Like, don't be a like don't be a statistic like my brother. You know, like, hang on. There's people that love you, and you know, you have to hang on, and you have to reach out. And I know it's hard, especially when you're depressed, or you're strung out, or you've pickled your brain temporarily or whatever. I know it's hard, but you've got to reach out, and reach out and get the help that you need, and get that fog off your brain, and get out of the woods and get back to the road, man, you know, and go in the right direction. So I would just say, like, don't give up. Like, you know, just don't be a stat, you know, like, just reach out.
Fuck yeah, man. Well, speaking of reaching out, how can somebody find you?
Oh, I can be found on Twitter. I think I, I don't even know what my ad is. I think it's Ghillie the Kid.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Like ghillie suit. Um, I
Which
think
is a
that's.
kick-ass name, by the way.
Thanks.
I
Yeah,
like that.
I have found like especially having legal issues, and being somebody that was known as one of those dudes that would serve you, you know, and stuff. Like, as far as like online, I don't do Facebook. Uh, you know, on Twitter, my name is anonymous. I don't post photos of myself. Like, I don't do any of that. But I will, you know, talk to anybody, you know, that reaches out, that you know, needs a friend or needs somebody to talk to, especially regarding, you know, this, you know. So
Right on, man. Well, like I said, thanks a lot. I love you, bro. And just for today, right?
yes, man, thank you for having me. And it's been a blessing. I was a little bit nervous, but it's been a blessing, and I appreciate what you do as well. And like I said, respect for you, and you do a lot of good work. You know, giving out Narcan, and doing everything that you're involved in, and like, you're somebody that I look up to
Man,
as
thank
well.
you.
So it's been a pleasure for sure.
Right on, man. Well, you have a good night, bro. We'll talk to you later.
Okay, thanks, man.
Yep. All right, there you go. Thanks a lot, Gilly, for coming on and hanging out, sharing your story, and just being honest and vulnerable. I cherish that conversation. That was a good one. And if you're out there in the audience and you're struggling with any kind of mental health stuff on top of, recovery or substance abuse, man, you're not alone. It is very difficult. You are not somehow, different. You're just you got a couple barriers in the way, but there are people out here who have those same barriers, who are finding a way to live with them and live a fulfilling life. So absolutely reach out to either myself or Ghillie. You have support. And so I just want to thank you guys so much for hanging out, kicking it with me. And I hope that you guys have a fantastic week, man. Song of the day. This is Odd One Out. I found this on Spotify. This was a kind of a little playlist gem that popped up, and this is a song called Whiskey and Cigarettes. Man, I just vibe with it, and I know you will too. But yeah, so I hope you guys, like I said, have a great week. I love you so much. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Big love, and we will see you next week.
Tastes like whiskey and cigarettes. It turns me on more than you know. Your smiles remind me of sunshines, and I won't let that go. I'm in a war with you and this bottle, and if you quit on me now, I will lose. Though sometimes I wish that you would just leave me, so I won't have to choose. I feel so far gone, I think I should end it all. And if only I had the balls, well, I would pull on this trigger, I would pull on this trigger, I would pull on this trigger and fall. Well, I know I have a problem I don't keep to myself, and if it does exist, I know I am going to hell. We'll drink and drive, crash and die, that's only if things go well. Go well. Well, your mouth tastes like whiskey and cigarettes. It turns me on more than you know. Remind me of sunshine, and I won't let that go. And I won't let that go.